Live from the Export Beer Garden Studios, you're listening to the BYC, your home for all things cricket. And what a run fest it's been, with bowlers having as much fun as Dylan Cleaver watching the Otago cricket side. But while the batsmen have been filling their boots, the results side of the ledger remains decidedly skinny. With 3 games to play, there's still a chance. And one thing we know for sure, this side won't lie down. 2-0 down at the moment, Dylan. Some runs are being had, but no victories.
No, and look, the batting's been superb.
Yes.
Daryl Mitchell again leading the way. A funny stat about him, but we'll get to that later. Will Young looked magnificent in that first ODI. That 86 was just so classy.
Yeah, so good.
That kind of just that glimpse of what we know he can do. And it's just frustrating we can't hold on to it for a bit longer. Tom Latham doing Tom Latham things, and even Chad Bowes got a 50 in the second ODI, but on both occasions was left with that nagging feeling that I'm not quite sure they've got enough here.
Yes.
And as it turned out, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's not like they're playing badly, Paul Ford. I mean, we're in these matches. We just can't quite get over the line at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, as Dylan just said, the batting's been pretty good. I think it feels like Young and Mitchell and Chapman are sort of in this shootout to be in the top 11 at the One Day International World Cup later in the year. So there's a little bit of pressure there. Two pretty bloody good games, to be fair. And I think, I wouldn't say that we're unlucky, but when you look at our bowling attack, it does feel like there's not a lot of the top tier there, and that's been a massive difference. You get the sense that Pakistan look at that bowling lineup and go, we could chase anything here. And, when I think it's something like 630 runs for 8 wickets in the games to date, that's just... Yeah.
A run fest.
If you're not going to take your wickets, and to be fair, in that second game, we dropped a couple of goober catches as well. I felt sorry for poor old Jimmy Neesham. I think he came in... I was just trying to think, I think Tickner and Milne were both out with sort of sore backs or whatever. So Neesham came in, and then we promptly dropped, I think Bowes dropped a catch, and Chapman dropped an absolute sitter, a couple of dodgy bits of fielding. I felt sorry for him towards the end of that game, because I think against someone like Fuckers a man, as you are facing a guy that's chasing targets, he averages something like 83 or 84, which is absolutely preposterous, just bludgeoning his way to on those run chases. 3 scores over 175 in one day. If he gets going, you're stuffed.
Absolutely. Now let's have a little chat about Daryl Mitchell in fantastic form. But Dylan, the curse of the overseas century, 0 from 5.
Yeah, he scored 5 internationals 100s for New Zealand overseas. He scored 3 in that momentous series he had against England. One of them was even a 190. Lost all 3 tests there. He scored 2 in the start of this ODI series, lost both of them. The key for New Zealand going forward is for Mitchell not to get 100s when playing overseas. He scored 3. He scored 3 at home, and they've won every test. So let's keep that one going. But look, he's playing superbly in 242 runs. He's scoring at a strike rate with 103. And I guess if you're going to be hypercritical, you could look at that New Zealand top 4, and they're all around that 100 mark when playing on surfaces that look like
roads.
They were roads, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, compare that to Zaman, who's scoring significantly quicker. He's scoring at a strike rate of 115. But the other thing we've got to also bear in mind is Pakistan won both those tosses.
Yes.
They know that when the dew settles later in the night in Rawalpindi, that service gets even skiddier and even more of a pleasure to bat on. So they haven't had everything go their way. In terms of the bowling, only 2 bowlers have taken 2 wickets. It's Sodhi and Milne, and they're both going for more than 6.5, and they've kind of been quite good. It's that awkward 5th bowler thing where you've got Neesham going for more than 7s, Ravindra going for more than 7s, and I think Daryl Mitchell had a few overs and went for, 27 off 3 overs. So, yeah, without those key players there, your Bolts, your Southies, they're really struggling to get through 50 overs.
Well, Daryl Mitchell too. Full credit to him, Paul Ford. He's not what I think you described as an unfashionable player in many respects, but he's nuggety and he gets the job done. But that overseas record, not great, Paul Ford.
It's a ridiculous statistic. I mean, how much would we have lost by in some of these games without him? Is obviously the counter to that. But it's a crazy statistic. And I don't know. Is he? I think he's graduated, Jace. I think he's graduated into being probably, if not the first guy picked, he's in the first couple. I mean, he has scored runs in all the formats. He's been bounced around positions. He looks like his heart's just pounding out of his chest when he's out there playing. He looks like he cares almost more than anybody else. He's so pumped up, and just keeps on delivering. I mean, he's become an extraordinary player for New Zealand, and still we talk about him as if we're sort of underestimating him. And I think we should give him a bit more credit than that, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a pretty amazing record that he's beginning to fashion. But, fellas, it's not all doom and gloom. There's still 3 games to go. Can we turn it around, Dylan Cleaver?
Well, they moved to Karachi, where they play tonight. Karachi, I think, is meant to be lower and slower. I'm really not sure if that does play into New Zealand's hands. Obviously, it might be a little bit easier for East Sodi and Ravindra to be slightly more economical.
Yes.
But it's not as if Pakistan have never mastered the art of bowling spin in their home conditions either. So I'm not sure if it helps. I'd just like to see New Zealand chase, actually. I think it'd be an interesting exercise. I'm sure they can arrange something behind the scenes because, look, we know that Pakistan chased very well with Zaman. I mean, when he's in, he's in.
Yeah. What a phenomenal player, though, Zaman.
Yeah, it's kind of... He's sort of the player that I look at and think, there's ways to get this guy out, and yet they don't.
Yeah.
And
there are ways to get him out, Paul Ford, but as Dylan pointed out, we don't.
Well, yeah, if you're going to drop him, if he hits the ball to you and you drop it, that's a really good way of not getting him out.
Yes.
That proven very effective over time. But I think as well, we were talking about Chapman the last couple of weeks and how, he looks quite exquisite when he gets going. Zaman never does. He's just a brute. He's just a brute. He just bludgeons it. He just smashes it. I think he came out of the Navy, and you wouldn't describe what he does with any sort of military precision. That's for sure. But he is putting together a case for being potentially Pakistan's greatest ever opening batsman in one-day international cricket. So he's got Saeed Anwar perhaps ahead of him, but he's averaging very close to 50, and he's scored more than, when you look at guys that have scored more than 3,000 runs, he's got the 8th highest average all time. So he is right up there with the big guns.
Just in terms of, the runs that these players are getting on the New Zealand side, I mean, this isn't a bad Pakistan attack either. I mean, there's some fearsome pace in there. So these guys are actually doing really well. It's probably on the bowling front that it's sort of letting us down at the moment.
Yeah, and I guess it shows that our backups in the batting department, you can't call Daryl Mitchell a backup or Tom Latham, as Paul's rightly pointed out. Daryl Mitchell's, one of the first names scratched onto the sheet now, and Tom Latham's obviously, if Kane Williamson's out, which we'll get to later, he's going to captain the team at the World Cup. So he's fully part of the lineup, but those cusp players, your Chapmans, your Youngs, I'm not going to put Bose in there yet because I'm still not convinced. Blundell, they're very good players, very, very good players.
Yes.
We still don't know whether your Listers and your Shipleys are going to be very good players. They could be.
Yes.
But playing in those sort of conditions at the moment, they're just a little bit exposed.
Hey, just on Kane, the hand holder, Gary steered on Kane's World Cup participation. He says it's still far too early to know. He's had the operation, and to date, what we know, that's been successful. So he's in the very, very early stages of his rehab program. It's obviously pretty non-weight bearing at this stage, and he's in a brace, so it's really just meeting milestones as we go. Our line around Kane at the moment is still, it's unlikely that he will be available, but we certainly don't want to rule out a person of his class and calibre. The things he brings to this team too early in case there's still a chance. Still, yeah, absolutely would take him to India as a mentor, Paul Ford.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, first of all, it's very good business acumen to be seen at all forms of cricket in India if you are wanting to maintain your relevance. So, yes, I think that's wise, and can see the camera panning to him as he looks incredibly bored and gives nothing away sitting up in the dressing room. Look, the World Cup does go forever as well. So, the World Cup final is the 19th of November at Narendra Modi Stadium. So, there's 48 games. It goes for God no. Well, no one knows because they haven't announced the dates. But let's
how many? 48 did you say? 48
games.
My God.
It's a 10-team round robin, then semis and a final. So let's just assume that he could be back potentially early November. He could still be part of that. He could still actually play a part in that tournament, particularly if we scratch our way through or in contention for those knockout games. Apparently, we've got a pretty good doctor in there. I think he looked after Waisaki Naholo and got him back on the field after a broken leg within a few months. It's not unprecedented if we think we're talking sort of 6 months away, 6 months and a bit until that World Cup final. So, look, there's hope, I think. There's hope that he's more than just a mentor and more than just a bored face up in the dressing room, that's for sure.
But having said that, I don't see the downside of him going as a mentor. He's got a lot of experience. He'd be helpful to the other players. What's the downside?
That his shadow looms over everything. Like, would Tom Latham feel 100%? And look, I'm just trying to find a negative here.
Yes.
Do you mean the sort of second guessing?
The second guessing, yeah. What
do you think, though? I don't think
that
Latham would feel that way. I think he's pretty secure in his own leadership.
Yeah, possibly. Look, I don't think there's many downsides, but I just do wonder. And also, if you're a coach in New Zealand, I mean, is that a direction Kane wants to go?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Does he want to go into coaching? If so, then absolutely, it's a great move and a great starting point. If it's something he's got no interest in, then you're really just taking him along as furniture.
Yes.
But look, I'm hard pressed to find too many negatives with it.
Which is not like you.
Which is not like me at all.
But I just think he would be a really positive influence on the side. I take your point that he does cast a big shadow, but I see him as just being a plus myself, Paul Ford.
Yeah, look, I've got no problem with it, but I think as Dylan says, you kind of want it to be Tom Latham's call and for that to be genuinely made. It sort of feels like a too many cooks the potential situation where there's too many cooks. I don't think we can say not enough Indians when they're going to India. There'll be heaps of Indians, and I think that's inescapable. So, look, I don't know. I feel like they're just keeping the door open for him to be there as a player. So to get rid of all of the speculation and all of that kind of stuff, we can just start saying, he's going to be going to India anyway, and that sort of takes that little piece of discussion off the table.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, and rightly so, we're talking a fair way down the line. So,
and I imagine he's a quick healer.
Yes.
He looks like a quick healer.
Yeah, he does look like a quick healer.
And isn't his
he
wife
looks
a
after
nurse?
himself.
His wife's a nurse as
she?
well, so that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, now postage stamps. Australia claim that England have investigated whether to shorten the boundaries for the upcoming Ashes series. Outrageous, Dylan Cleaver.
Well, news.com.au is certainly pitching it as an outrageous piece. The word they used in the headline was skullduggery.
Right.
Which is about as sneaky as you can get. I'm not quite sure what the benefit is. I mean, Australia play on big grounds anyway.
Yes.
They play on the biggest grounds in world cricket. I'm not sure why shortening the boundaries would give England an inherent advantage. Maybe they feel that the Australian batsmen's eyes will light up because they don't get
right
and go aerial more often. Or perhaps they just feel they're just going to go on the slog so often that they want more balls to clear the rope and not be caught on the boundary. It's a curious one, and we actually don't even know if it's true. What Ben Stokes has said very clearly is he wants fast, flat pitches.
Right. So tedious cricket then. Basically bat-dominating ball pull forward. Snore fest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They're not going to create a dust bowl to exploit the magnificent spinning talents of Jack Leach, are they? Let's be honest. So, it's a bit of a weird one. It feels to me like just part of the cut and thrust of PR for the Ashes, to be honest. I mean, both teams bat on the same size ground, so bringing the boundary in, I don't know. It just seems sort of bizarre. I saw some statistic which said that England had hit a lot more sixes in Test cricket than the Australian batsmen. But yeah, to Dylan's point, you're talking about boundaries that are 90 metres versus boundaries that are 60 metres. Well, of course you're going to hit more sixes. So kind of just seems to be a little bit of a nonsense. Yeah. The other thing that has caught my eye as well was, just talking about the skullduggery. Is there any other kind of duggery? Stuart Broad has come out and said as well that he's developed a specific delivery, which he is going to use to derail the careers of Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, which has got a very lovely sort of homage, I think, to the type of thing that Shane Warne used to say back in the day. And, who cares whether it's true or not? It's just great. It's great PR from Broad. I love it.
I did also enjoy how Stuart Broad just came out and said, the 4-0 loss didn't count.
Yeah. Yes.
It was played in COVID conditions. Wipe that. It's expunged from the record.
Move on.
And Australians are predictably outraged by that skullduggery as well.
Ridiculous. Yeah, well,
of course, forgetting that, we're not forgetting, but, conveniently overlooking that if you look at the last 20 Ashes series or whatever it is, Australia have wasted them in so many of them that, ignoring one's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference in the overall trend, I'd suggest.
Hey, Kiwis in the IPL, Conway's still going berserk. We were, chatting just before about Mitchell and how he's kind of an unfashionable player. In many respects, Conway is sort of similar in a way, but he gets the job done. And he's batting it, I think he got 90 off, I don't know how many balls, but he's going
92 not out off 56 maybe?
Yeah, so he's going great guns.
He's scored 414 runs at an average of 59.14. He's scoring them quickly. He does play on a postage stamp of ground for his home games, as we said. But, Stephen Fleming had a really interesting line about him. He said, the guy just gets the job done. Sometimes he doesn't look very easy on the eye at all.
No.
Other times he looks absolutely exquisite. And that's dead right. I'm often confused watching Devon Conway about which one you're going to get. Are you going to get the ones with those cover drives, which are just about as good a shot as anyone's ever played in the history of the game, and then suddenly you'll get these kind of one-handed stuff pushing it around the leg side. But, to Stephen Fleming's point, he gets the job done.
He does. He's very effective, Paul Ford, and his record speaks for itself in all the games that he plays, really.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly. And having watched him a lot of times down here at the Basin Reserve, he always looks pretty bloody good down there to my eye. But I think video analysis gets stuck into them, and you got bowlers that are precise enough to be able to aim at that gap where he kind of gets on that gap between bat and pad and gets a little bit sort of stuck there, and occasionally the flamingo shot in the air down that leg side that Dylan.
Well, he has that flourish, doesn't he?
He
that
has
real
a
flourish
outside off stump, which is nice, but he's a bit squirty on the hips.
Squirty.
Can't resist.
It's squirty.
Squirty. God, he won't be happy with that. Jesus.
Yeah. But he's not. I think of Conway, and I don't think of him as a basher, and yet he's going at a great rate of knots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big, wide range of shots, and very flexible and able to hit the ball into weird places, right? He's got that full 360 thing going on. I tell you who's having a good time over at the IPL. Finn Allen, $160,000, no games. And Glenn Phillips, $300,000, 1 game, 8 runs at a strike rate of 130. That's must be quite fun being a net batter.
Yeah, totally. That's good money, man.
You guys asked last week about what happens with a player who is available for the full season
but doesn't play.
And doesn't play, gets paid full whack irrespective of the number of matches you played or selected for. So you get paid full whack. And then if you have to pull out due to injury before a season plays, then you don't get paid. But if you're available for only a fixed number of matches, you get it's like a pro rata thing with a bit of a 10% retainer as well. So go pretty well once you're in there.
Now the bowlers have struggled mightily over there. I'll give you. Ferguson's played 3 matches. He's going at 12.5 and over.
Yeah.
For a solitary wicket.
That's a few.
Tim Southey's played 2 matches, scored 2 wickets, but he's going at 13.2 and over. Mickey Bracewell, he's played 2 matches, 2 wickets, 10 and over. Mitchell Santner, which we've discussed in the past, he's probably a little bit cursed by where he's playing and the fact he's got Moeen Ali ahead of him, but he really should be playing a lot more games. He's played 3 matches, only got the 2 wickets, but he's going on 6.75 in a tournament where up until the last couple of nights, the run rates have been bananas.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And I can't help but join the 2 things together that we've talked about. We're just saying New Zealand's over in Pakistan, batting pretty well. The bowling is struggling. And then we've got all of these blokes who are sitting on the bench in the IPL. Southey, Ferguson, Bracewell, Santner, all those guys are potentially in contention for that first 11 or dead cert.
Bolt's playing.
And none of them are playing. This is the problem with cricket at the moment, I think.
Yeah, but Their bank balances are fine, though.
Lovely.
You know what I mean? Imagine that, though.
Yeah.
Seriously, you're getting like 300K to play cricket, but you don't play cricket, but you still get 300K.
You're just sitting on the sideline going,
Yeah, boy.
didn't get on there, but that's another Porsche Boxster for the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're doing heaps of Instagram posts. I don't know what you guys are saying, that they're not doing anything.
Yeah, no,
They're
that's
doing
true.
heaps of
Good
Instagram
point.
posts.
Hey, commentary, Nook. Well, today's commentary actually isn't specifically commentary. It's I don't know if you guys are fans of the
What?
12th man.
Yeah.
And it's just a great little clip of Richie Benaud talking to his vineyard manager.
Mr. Benaud, on report for you.
No, thanks. Put it through. Henri. Oui, mon ami. Comment allez-vous? Ah, très bon. Oh, je suis très bon too, thanks. Henri, tell me, comment allez les grapes, le vino? Oui? What le fungus? Où est le fungus? Fuck. Savignon or Peanut Noir? Oh, merde. Oh, vous êtes joking. Well, qu'est-ce que c'est le damage, Henri? Oui, sacre bleu. Well, what the fuck do vous propose to do? No, to fix le problem, le remedy. Le spray. Oui. Okay, well, je want vous sur le case, Henri. Well, vous êtes in charge, and it's votre derrière if les grapes mort. Okay. Well, stay dans contact avec moi. Okay. Parle avec vous bientôt. Okay. Au revoir. Magna fucking fake.
Waiting! Hey, but right now it's time for one of your favourite parts of the podcast, Paul Ford's News or Ruse.
Yeah, it is. And Jace, after your incredibly
Amazing, wasn't it?
amazing knowledge of Gary Balance.
Look at the look on Cleaver's face. He's filthy still about that.
Jack up.
The Oi Hoy trophies out west, and rightly so, I think.
Thanks, mate.
Justice was served. Congratulations. Anyway, this week, 3 bits of news. There's something wrong with one of them. Informal discussions have started about turning the men's 100, this is exciting, into a 2020 competition as English cricket wrestles with the sport's rapidly changing landscape, reports Lawrence Booth in the Daily Mail. Conversations are at an early stage and sensitivity is high because of the money invested by Sky Sports in this 100-ball cricket format that is played only in the UK. It's coming up to its third summer. And of course, we know T20 cricket around the world continues to expand. Major League Cricket in the USA, Singapore starting a league, Saudi Arabia starting a league, and growing talk of bespoke 20-over contracts for the army of freelance players. Meanwhile, there are claims that the 100 has lost £9 million in the last couple of years.
Jeez, that's a fair whack.
Is.
I think it's 90, actually.
This next one is a book, and this is about a book. It's a magnificently named book. It is called Cricket, a collection of all the grand matches of cricket played in England within 20 years from 1771 to 1791 by William Epps, and it is being offered for sale for £225,000 at London's Rare Book Fair. The book is particularly special, having come from the library of iconic cricket commentator and book collector, not the 12th man, but John Arlott. The book was a gift from his father and the last book of his fine cricket collection that he personally retained. Exceptionally rare, the book preserves records of the earliest days of the game and is recognised as being virtually unobtainable. The provenance of this copy makes it exceptionally desirable, with John Arlott, of course, the presenter and commentator of BBC Radio's Test Match special for between 1957 and 1980, and the personification of cricket. So he sold all of his books and he kept this amazing book. And number 3, under rules unveiled by Cricket Australia, players will be able to sign with individual clubs on a marquee supplementary list in the Big Bash. If they are not expected to be available to play, if the player's circumstances change, they will then be able to be brought into the Big Bash League club's full-time roster to feature in matches. So this just means that the big guns can draft themselves in and start playing. FYI, the highest paid overseas men's player in the Big Bash this coming summer will be command $420,000 in the draft. That's Australian dollars. And their female counterparts will collect $110,000, which shows this competition is starting to crank it up in terms of the cash for the players.
Great stuff, mate. I think, Cleaver, it's your turn first.
Is it? Oh, there's a lot of price tags.
Yeah.
And a lot of stories, isn't there? One of the price tags.
Very money focused this week.
Very much so.
So I think it's either the figure, I think the 100. I want to have a quick chat about the 100 after this, obviously.
Yes.
But I think the price tag for the 100, 9 million, doesn't sound like a hell of a lot of losses, actually. Or it's or the book sounds a bit underpriced.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, well.
On the second one.
Okay, well,
I'll do that.
You have the book then. I'll say that it's lost more than 9 million, so it's 90 million.
Well, Dylan, you've just sort of squeaked, to use your word. What did you call Dylan?
Squirted.
What did you call Devon Conway? You've just
Squirting.
squirted your way to a squirty little victory there. But I said that Singapore was starting its own T20 league, and that was absolute bullshit. I just completely made that up.
They might be.
It was only the USA and Saudi Arabia.
Wouldn't surprise me, Paul, to be honest.
Categorically rule it out, but there you go.
Yeah.
Dylan Cleaver. The Oi Hoi Trophy is heading back over the bridge, I'm afraid.
So that 100 is fascinating. In that England actually already has a T20 competition, except they brought in the 100 to be a more city-based, lively thing where they can pull, particularly in student towns, they can pull students in there for ridiculously underpriced tickets. And one of the problems with it is, you mentioned this, I was listening to our last week's podcast on the way in the car, just to refresh my memory. It was fantastic. Well done, Jason. Some of your points were brilliant.
Thanks, mate.
But you made
I don't know if you're taking the piss or not.
You made a very good point about the vacuousness of some of the modern cricket and how
Yes.
it means nothing. If no one else plays the format you play, what does it mean for players who even play it well? Those records, where do they get kept? They're not on Cricinfo or anything like that, are they? I mean, they don't go on your T20 record. They just kind of disappear out into the ether. The 100 always seemed to me like a really bad idea, and nothing in its 2 years of existence has convinced me otherwise.
Yeah.
We could talk about this forever, but I did see a beautiful line from, I think it was Barney Renee, who described all T20 cricket, including the 100, everything. He called it generic noise cricket, which I think we can start using that on our podcast because that's quite a good summary of it. But I think that the reason that the 100 exists is to try and flush out their private equity money, right? So they are trying to get shitloads of money out of private equity in the 100 without kind of giving up their kind of T20 stuff. So they had an offer last year for £400 million for a majority stake in the 100. Now, I can't remember whether that went through or not. I don't think so, but just as an example, it's just part of the economics of cricket, unfortunately. So anyway, it's all coming to a head, that's for sure.
Hey, moving on, fellas, it's time for Dylan Cleaver's Obscure Players of the 90s.
Obscure Players of the 90s.
Yeah, now I've picked a guy that Paul's probably familiar with. I had to refresh my memory, but Mayu Pasupati of Wellington. And he only played 4 first-class matches. I think they were all in the 97-98 season, if memory serves. Averaged 29 with the bat with 150, 8 wickets at 20.75. So you would have thought that maybe there was more
to come.
Life in his first-class career.
I don't know why that name is familiar to me. Very familiar.
But, well, he became a white ball specialist.
Right.
His career didn't quite match up to T20. That kind of only came at the end of it. But he played a lot of one-day cricket, and he made a particular name for himself in what was then known as the State Shield one-day competition in the final against Canterbury, and I believe we've got a clip.
Both consider them batsmen.
Big full toss, and what a catch! That is unbelievable.
did that actually happen? What a magnificent one-handed catch. Pasipati, look, Redmond cannot believe it. Nook and his teammates, just have a look at this. Dear me.
There you go.
Yeah, so
I was at that game. And it was an extraordinary catch. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Talk us through it.
Mark Jefferson bowling left arm spin. Canterbury are chasing a middling total, 200, I think, but they're in a little bit of trouble with very young Aaron Redmond playing for Canterbury, not Otago, then at the crease. Very hard to think of him as babyface, but he was almost babyface back then. And he gets a filthy full toss from Mark Jefferson, the left arm spinner. Doesn't get it all in the middle, but it's either going for 4 or 6. Pasipati running to his right, leaps mid-air, plucks it out with his thumb and index finger and holds on to it as he hits the ground. It was a piece of genius. I think he lives in Sydney now, and he was actually born in Jaffna in Sri Lanka, and I want to inform the listeners here a little bit about Jaffna, actually, the capital city of the northern province of Sri Lanka, right on the very, very tip of that teardrop. It was the second most populous city in Sri Lanka behind Colombo until the Sri Lankan Civil War, in which it was hosted the Tamil Tigers, basically. It's a Tamil city. Then the military came in, the predominantly Sri Lankan, Sinhalese military came in and expelled a lot of the population. It's now about 88,000, so it's kind of Palmerston Northish size. But yeah, fascinating city. It used to be a Portuguese colony, then a Dutch one, then an English one, and then a Tamil enclave. So there you go.
Great stuff, into his nickname. He was known as the Pearl, I believe.
Yes.
And I think they got absolutely steamed out in town and then watched videos of it back. And I don't think obviously didn't watch it back at the time, and he was just like bewildered at how incredible the catch was himself. I think he flattered with maybe James Franklin at the time, and I think they had it on VHS for a bunch of years there for sure.
Paul Fordish, maybe, eh? You seen Paul in the field? Outstanding.
Occasionally outstanding,
and then occasionally appallingly bad as well.
Occasionally appalling.
But there you go. Hey, speaking of Paul Ford, it's time for Cricket Violence Corner.
Paul Ford's Cricket Violence Corner.
Yeah, it is time for Cricket Violence Corner. Let me just dig it out. What have I got this week? Oh, yeah, that's right. We're off to this is a bit of a strange one, actually. The wife of India and Gujarat Titans paceman Mohammad Shami is seeking an arrest warrant against the cricketer. She's reportedly alleged that Shami's been involved in extramarital affairs, including with ladies of the night, during his tours with the Indian cricket team. She said that the practice is continuing even up until the present day. I love this. You get into the court documents, and it actually has the mobile phone number, which is +44 786490 5556, that he uses allegedly to manage all of his affairs in relation to extramarital affairs. And the phone has been seized by the Kolkata police. His estranged wife, as a dog with the bone, has been relentlessly pursuing the case against Shami, even as he continues to deny all of the allegations. So there we go. Absolutely steamy stuff.
I've always been told to be suspicious of people with more than one phone.
Yeah. Have you got more than one phone, Dylan?
No, I haven't.
I've just got the one myself. What about you, Paul?
I've got a couple of phones.
Oh, dodgy. Waiting! Hey, right now, though, it's time for our Toppa Correspondence.
Toppa Correspondence of the Week, brought to you by Leader NZ's Lasagna Toppa.
Yeah, Matt's been in touch. Lovely note, actually.
Topper,
first of all, he did say his shadow batting shot is a delicate leg glance, just caressing the ball on the way past to accelerate its journey to the boundary, so you barely feel it on the bat. Summer. Anyway, he writes, "Hey lads, thought I'd share some cricket nerdery with some people who I'm sure will be more understanding than my poor long-suffering wife. An observation from the end of the 5th T20 International in Pakistan, Mark Chapman was signing autographs with his right hand, but obviously bowls and bats left-handed, which intriguingly, to me at least, is a mirror image of Kane Williamson and a bloke called Sachin Tendulkar, who both write left-handed. quite some company to be in. There's this theory that being ambidextrous is an advantage for a batter, something to do with balancing of eyes and similar reaction times in both brain halves, I think. But it got me thinking maybe Chapman has more goods than we've recognised, and that this could actually be him starting to deliver to his potential. Anyway, food for thought. Love the show. Makes my Wednesday afternoon commutes a highlight of the week. Cheers, Matt.
Good on you, Matt.
I love that sort of nerdery.
Yeah.
That's great.
Someone who sticks around for the broadcast after it to observe who's signing what with what hand. But actually, Jack Leach is the most fascinating one, right? He bowls left arm, but when he throws in from the field, he throws
right-handed,
and that's probably the most curious one I've seen. Hey, Paul, I know we got these 3 one-dayers to go in Pakistan. Then what happens for the Black Caps?
Then we've got the excitement of 3 T20s in the UAE on August 17th, 19th and 20th. And then that's sort of en route to England, where we are for August and a chunk of September, because we've got 5 T20s and then 4 one-dayers over there. So
a bit of a break after this.
12 short-form games. Yeah, but that's right. Yeah, nothing in June or July or most of August, actually.
Right.
Could have a break, a couple of weeks off?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
See how we go. We'll have a...
Well, I'm keen to keep going, but if you guys want to have a break...
I mean, if you're keen, I'm keen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean...
I'll be here. It's just whether you turn up or not.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Right. Check this out, everyone. The Export Ultra Beer Garden Tour to Paris. Export Ultra and the ACC are giving you and a mate a chance to go on tour with the ACC and visit the best beer gardens outside of New Zealand. It just so happens the Export Ultra Beer Garden Tour will be on at the same time as a certain tournament in France in October. Flights, accommodation for a week in Paris, hosted by G Lane, Matt Heatham and Nia Stewart. Just text Paris to 3236. Follow the link to register and you are in the draw. Easy as that. Give the new Export Ultra a try. 99% carb-free refreshment. Great stuff. Hey, thanks for your correspondence. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the podcast. We'll be back same time next week, fellas. Beautiful.